Greetings and welcome everyone to my last sermon of 2020. And what a year it has been. The title of my message today is A Broken Dad Who Found Christmas. As I've been mentioning the last few weeks, today is the grand finale of my sermon series, The Search for Christmas, whereby I have shared different people who found Christmas when they least expected it. And I hope that this last message of the sermon series will bless and touch your hearts. So let me begin first by sharing a Christmas joke. It's not too often I share a joke right off the start, at the beginning of my sermon, but I kind of like this one. So again, this is a Christmas joke, and the story goes of a mother who one Christmas received 3 exquisite and expensive gifts from her 3 sons. All her sons have become rather successful and rich in life. And so the first son went ahead and built a big mansion for Mom. And they were talking to among themselves, and they said, what'd you do? What did you give Mom? And the first brother said, I built a big mansion for Mother. And the second son, boasted, said, I sent a Rolls-Royce with a driver, no less. This way, she don't have to worry about driving at all. And the third son said, I went a more practical way. You know how Mother loves to read her Bible. Well, I did something special. I did something unique, and this is definitely going to be very unique among all her Christmas gifts. You see, I paid good money to train a parrot to recite memory verses. And this parrot has memorized 100 verses from the Bible. Top that. Mom is going to be so happy and so pleased with this holy parrot. Well, after Christmas, it turns out Mother went ahead and sent thank you cards to all her 3 sons. And one by one, they began to open up the thank you cards. And this is what they read. Mother was kind of rather hard to please. So this is what she wrote. The first thank you card. Michael, the mansion you built is so huge. I live only in one room, but I have to clean the whole mansion. She wasn't all that thrilled with that mansion. The second thank you card. Thomas, I'm too old to travel. I stay most of the time at home, so I rarely use a Rolls-Royce. And that driver, he's so rude. He's a pain. Once again, Mother was not pleased. And then she got to her third thank you card. This is from her favorite son. My dearest Peter, what a thoughtful and practical gift you gave me. I absolutely loved it. The chicken was so delicious. Hope you enjoy that joke. Okay, so today's story goes back to actually originally to the footprints in the sand. I'm sure most of you have seen this poem before. And it turns out, according to even legal dispute, there's 2 origins of this poem. 2 different authors are competing for the authorship of this poem. And I think it boils down to Margaret Powers and Mary Stevenson. And I'm not going to try to figure out who actually wrote the poem. And maybe both of them were inspired by something they'd seen and have different versions of the same poem. But I don't know. But the focus today is on Margaret Fishback Powers. And a few years ago, she wrote a book describing what inspired her to write that beautiful poem that's treasured by so many Christians. And so I went ahead and bought that book, and I liked the book, but in the pages of this book, there's a little beautiful hidden gem, a treasure, beautiful illustrations for us pastors I absolutely fell in love with. And it's about something that happened during one particular Christmas towards the Powers family. So again, this is a story of the Powers family. And at this time, Margaret and Paul, and they had 2 children, 2 little girls, Paula and Tina. And this happened back in 1972. Now, at that time, that year, it turns out the family was struggling financially. They were going through all kinds of trials and storms and tribulations. Many, just like many have been going through this year in 2020. So they were struggling, and things were not looking good. In fact, things were so bad because Paul was also blowing his top off. He had a really bad temper, constantly angry, constantly arguing, constantly yelling at everybody, that she seriously thought about divorcing him. But because she was a believer and a Christian, she began to pray about it, asking God to give her a sign whether she should divorce Paul. And after praying about it, she felt that God was telling her, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't divorce Paul. I want you to fight for your marriage and fight for Paul. Fight for your children. The children need Paul, as difficult as he was. To make matters worse, after she had made up her mind not to divorce him, the husband's business was just getting worse. It was failing. In fact, they were facing bankruptcy. Things were not looking good for this family. And again, the financial problems just got worse and worse and worse. And they were hitting rock bottom. Rock bottom. By Christmas of 1972, things were just as dire as it could possibly be. They were barely making it, barely surviving, barely making a living. And Margaret didn't see how they're going to be able to celebrate Christmas that year. She thought, we may not have Christmas Eve dinner. We may not be able to buy any presents for the girls. I don't know what we're going to do. And this is what she wrote in her book, a quote from the book. She said this: hitting rock bottom was something that neither of us had anticipated when we told God that we put him first and gave up the other lifestyle. Poverty, I couldn't believe it. And that's exactly what they were facing, poverty and bankruptcy. And so again, as Christmas was getting closer and closer, Margaret was just dreading the arrival of Christmas, because again, she didn't know how they were going to be able to get some gifts, buy some decorations, and buy some food for the Christmas dinner. Well, turns out Paul was able to contact some of the business contacts, and they had people who owned him money. And so he was able to amass $40. He was able to collect $40. Now, $40 may not seem like much today to be able to celebrate Christmas, and it wouldn't be. But back then, in terms of the money that was worth back then, it was worth over $200. So there was enough money to buy Christmas dinner, some decorations, and gifts. So Margaret was absolutely happy when he brought the money. And he told her, he says, Margaret, this is all I got. I want you to spend the money wisely. Don't misspend this money, because this is all we got. And Margaret promised, oh, yes, I promise. I'm not going to misspend this money. And with that, she went out, her daughter, and they went shopping. And they bought some gifts and some decoration and all kinds of food and pastries and all the side dishes that go with this Christmas Eve dinner that she was planning to make. They were going to be happy and be able to celebrate Christmas Eve. And then finally, they came home. She came home with all kinds of stuff. She came back really happy. And Paula and Tina, two daughters, were also very happy. All the things they had done. Christmas had been saved in their mind. And so they're going through all the stuff they had bought. Suddenly, Paul saw that she had bought a rather expensive gold wrapping paper. And when he saw that gold wrapping paper, he became enraged. He threw a fit. He began to yell and scream at Margaret, saying, Margaret, how could you be so wasteful? How could you spend money on that expensive gold wrapping paper that we don't need? I clearly told you not to be wasteful, to spend your money wisely, and there you go, misspending it on that expensive gold wrapping paper. I can't believe it. I'm so ticked off. I am so mad at you. Yelled and screamed to the point where kind of ruined Christmas Eve. Ruined. And Paula and little Tina, they were just upset that Daddy once again lost his temper. Once again, he was mad. He was mad of all evenings on Christmas Eve. This was not supposed to be. This was not supposed to be. Well, eventually they were able to eat rather quietly their Christmas Eve dinner. They try to make the best of it, and Margaret tried to make the best of it as well. And after they had eaten dinner and put things away, Margaret then suggested She was trying to rescue Christmas Eve, suggest, you know what, why don't we just take the time right now to gift wrap our presents, our gifts. And Tina and Paul all said, yeah, let's do that, Daddy, let's do that. And Paul, well, he reluctantly agreed, okay, let's go ahead and do that. So they were doing all that, and then they ran out of gift wrapping paper. The gold gift wrapping paper was upstairs in the bedroom, and so Margaret realized they had run out. So Paul then became sarcastic and said, Tina, can you please go upstairs and get that expensive gold wrapping paper that your mother bought? Of course, little Tina didn't understand the sarcasm, but Margaret did, and she was hurt and wounded, but she chose not to say a thing, not a single word, because again, she didn't want to cause a scene, a confrontation, or a fight. She was trying to rescue Christmas Eve. So, but little Tina went upstairs and to get that gold wrapping paper. Well, several minutes went by, and Tina had not come back down yet, and they were waiting and waiting. And finally, they decided to go upstairs to see what she was doing. You know, children are quiet, and there could be some funny business going on. So they went upstairs and to the bedroom. And when they got upstairs, they were absolutely surprised and shocked and dismayed when they saw that Tina was trying to gift wrap a shoe box, and she had cut the gold wrapping paper into all kinds of pieces. She had made a big fat old mess, and she had wasted all that gold wrapping paper. Now, when Paul saw that, he just lost it yet again, started yelling and screaming, and he grabbed little Tina and shook her in the air, and he spanked her and told her, how could you waste this expensive gold wrapping paper? How could you do this? Oh, he just yelled and screamed and spanked her, and little Tina began to scream and yell, and she was crying. In the midst of the crying, he just reflected on what he had done, and he put her down. And then he felt absolutely miserable, torn up inside, thinking, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? And indeed, Paul at that moment had visions of his own childhood. You see, Paul grew up in an abusive home. His father was absolutely abusive, physically and emotionally, constantly hitting him, sometimes for no reason. And as he had these visions, these flashbacks of his childhood, he thought to himself, I'm becoming that same monster that my father was with me. I'm becoming him. I can't believe it. I swore I would never become like my father. And here I am, becoming just like my father. Just like my father. And he was just torn up on the inside. And again, Christmas Eve, it was ruined. It was absolutely ruined. Well, the next day, everybody was calmed. And Margaret then told the family and asked Paul, you know what, my parents just called me and they invited us to spend Christmas with them. They're cooking this big old meal. We're going to have a great old big old get-together with that. Would you mind if we go there? And Paul said, yeah, let's just go to your parents' house. They live in the same town. So as they're getting ready to leave the house, Paul suddenly tripped over Tina's gift wrap box, the one she had spent all that expensive gold wrapping paper on it. He had tripped over it, and when he tripped over, he kicked it. He was upset because it reminded him what happened the previous night and how she had wasted that gold wrapping paper. But little Tina, she ran up to that box and she held it close to her heart like it was the most prized possession in the world, like it was more valuable than all the gold and all the silver and all the money in the world. And she went up to her father and she gave it to her father and she said to her father, Daddy, this is for you, Daddy. This is for you. I made it especially for you, Daddy. Well, Paul then grabbed the box and shook it for a few seconds and didn't seem like there was anything inside. Couldn't hear anything, and it didn't weigh like it was like anything inside. So anyways, he decided to just go ahead and take out that expensive gold wrapping paper off the box. And when he opened it, couldn't believe what he saw. He was floored by what he saw. It was empty. Absolutely empty. And when he saw that empty gift box, he was angry. Once again, he blew his top off, began to yell and scream, and say, "Tina, how could you be so wasteful? Don't you know that you're supposed to put something inside the box before you give it up, before you use that expensive gold wrapping paper? How could you be so silly? Oh, I can't believe you did that. You just wasted it for nothing, for absolutely nothing. It's empty." And then Tina, poor little Tina, she began to sob, big tears. In the midst of a sob, she said, "Daddy, Daddy, it's not empty. It's not empty at all. You see, Daddy, I blew kisses into it. It's full of love and kisses just for you, Daddy, just for you." And when Paul heard that, he broke down. He was so touched and so moved by what little Tina had done. In fact, this is what happened next, according to Margaret from the book. She said this: "An empty box, but strangely and wonderfully full. It was the gift that Paul needed the most. Right there in the hallway, he dropped to his knees, hugged Tina, begged for her forgiveness, and then hugged Paula and me, begging our forgiveness as well." She continues, "His sobs were deep, coming from the depths of his being. Paul received a healing within that moment. The enemy, his anger, died that day. Actually died that day. He cried out to God for help, and he received it. He received it." It took a small child to make that miracle happen. Ultimately, the miracle of Christmas had returned to the Powers family. Once again, it took a small child to bring joy, peace, and love into a broken and shattered world. A child who did not have money to spend upon her tormented father, but yet gave him something that all the money in the world could not possibly buy. A child who was innocent and naive, and yet wise and perceptive beyond her years at the same time. And a child who did not permit the cruel reality of life to destroy her love, her gentleness, and her tenderness. Amazing grace indeed. Amazing grace indeed. No wonder why. No wonder why Jesus loved children, because sometimes, they get it. They see the big picture. They see the big picture. Indeed, this is the reason why Jesus said where he said in Matthew 19, verse 14, Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Amazing, wonderful story. Here's a concluding quote from Margaret, again from the book. This is what she says: "To this day, we still have that golden box, a reminder of one of the best Christmases we've ever had. It had been a time of trial and testing, just like this year has been for you, for the vast majority of you this year. It has been a time of testing and trial. But God had carried us through. And no matter what you're going through, no matter what your family's been going through this difficult year of the pandemic, just remember, just realize, just comprehend, just accept that God will carry you through. God will carry us all through this difficult time of testing. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Now, it's very clear from this story that you really don't need that much money to celebrate Christmas. You don't need money to celebrate love. Love. And think about it. This is what the world really needs right now. This is what America needs right now. Gift boxes of kisses and love. This is what the world really needs. Gift boxes of kisses and love. So therefore, in light of that story, inspired by that story, let's go ahead and create gift boxes of kisses and love. Because you know what? We all know somebody, or maybe several people in our lives, that need these gift boxes of kisses and love. Maybe they need healing, emotional, physical, spiritual healing. Maybe they need deliverance. Maybe they need conversion. Maybe they've had rough childhood. They were abused. They've been through so much trauma in life, and they need to be touched by God. They need to receive these gift boxes of kisses and love. So let's go ahead and create these gift boxes and love. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, how is that possible? Christmas is already over. Well, this is a little project that I want us to focus for the new year, for 2021. And specifically, I want us to focus on these gift boxes of kisses and love throughout the month of January, which normally is a month of fasting and prayer. And we're going to do that again this year as well, a month of fasting and prayer. But this is how I want us to approach our gift boxes of kisses and love for 2021. Foremost, go ahead and pick someone you know. Someone who is in desperate need, again, of a conversion, of a healing, of deliverance, of a special blessing. Someone who absolutely needs his gift boxes of kisses and love, okay? And after you pick that person, I want you to pray for that person every day throughout the month of January. Every single day, and pray for what they really need. Pray for their particular need, okay? And you may also want to, if possible, if your health permits it, to fast for the person at least once or twice a week per month, throughout the month of January. Fast for that person, again, for what they need, for those gift boxes of kisses and love. And then, you know what? You might know of several people that might need these gift boxes of kisses and love. So go ahead and pick more than just one person. There's several people that we know that could use this. And then finally, I want you to believe in the New Year miracle. That God will grant you your gift boxes of kisses and love for that person or for those several people that you may be praying for in the new year. And we also need to have a faith that can move mountains. A faith that can move mountains. As Jesus told us in Matthew 17, verse 20, you don't have enough faith, Jesus told his disciples. I tell you the truth, if you had faith even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it would move. Nothing would be impossible. And I don't think Jesus Christ is necessarily talking about mountains, real, genuine, physical mountains. But we all know that we all have obstacles, big obstacles in our lives. So we know people who have many tremendous obstacles in their lives. And Jesus says, you know what? Whatever obstacles that people have, whatever mountains that people have in their lives that they've been carrying for quite some time, I, the Almighty God, have the power to remove those mountains. I have the power and the authority to move those mountains. And so I want you to pray with faith that I to remove those mountains from people's lives. So let's do that. Let's fulfill this verse. Let's believe and have faith that God can remove mountains from our lives and the lives of our loved ones. And we also need to do not only with faith, we also need to do this in the spirit of love. You know, little Tina, she did it in the spirit of love. She gave everything she had to try to touch her broken father, who had been through so much in his childhood. And it was her love that ultimately conquered him, ultimately caused him to receive healing from his anger. She brought that healing because she did it all in a spirit of love and humility. So also, let us do the same thing. Let us keep this scripture in mind as we're doing this throughout the month of January. From 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 3. This is Paul speaking from the famous love chapter. What if I could speak all languages of humans and of angels, and if I did not love others, I would be nothing more than a noisy gong and a clanging cymbal. What if I could prophesy and understand all the secrets and all the knowledge of the universe? And what if I had faith that moved mountains? I would be nothing unless I loved others. A better way to love others than to create these gift boxes of kisses and love. What if I gave away all that I owned and let myself be burned alive I would gain nothing unless I loved others. Again, let's do this with the spirit of love. Let's be reminded, and we're about to enter the Lent season soon, let's be reminded that Jesus, everything he did for us, everything he did for you and for me, he did it with a spirit of profound love. He did it because he loved us. So let us also do these things. Let us also create these gift boxes of kisses and love, and let's do it with a spirit of love. And again, don't underestimate the power of prayer. Don't underestimate the power of faith. Don't underestimate the power of fasting. So again, let's create these gift boxes of love and kisses in the new year for those who most desperately need it. Let's bless others, and let's expect miracles of love in the new year. And let the people of God say amen and amen. So that wraps up our final sermon for 2020. I pray that you all have been blessed with this Christmas sermon series, and also been blessed from these messages throughout the year. We got more coming in 2021. I think next year is going to be a spectacular year. So thank you all for your continued support. I pray you all will have a wonderful New Year's Eve celebration. Celebrate responsibly and humbly, and continue to serve the Lord, right? Bless you all, and have a great, wonderful week. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Until next year.